Paul Greenland was one of these students who participated in the freedom rides 50 years ago. He's now a convener of the New South Wales Greens. Paul, thanks for coming on. Take us back to 50 years ago. What were you doing and why did you get on that bus?
Well, we're very much babes going into the bush, really. I mean, it was an issue then, because of the United States and so on. And we'd had a huge demo against the filibuster in the Senate in 1964, and people were asking a natural question, well, it's okay to, protest about what's happening in the United States, but what about race relations and segregation and racism in Australia? And so, as Jim Spiegelman once said, students were getting on buses and doing things, so we organised the bus and off we went. And as I think you said earlier, we went to do a survey, but we found, we'd walked into a race revolution, really, that was to, really change the nature of Australian society in the next decade or two.
And what did you find when you started arriving in these towns?
Well, we found mind-boggling racism, like, returned servicemen, Aboriginal returned servicemen who couldn't go to the local RSL club, girls who couldn't kind of go to dress shops to try on dresses, kids who couldn't go to local swimming pools, cinemas which had reserved sections down the front for Aborigines and so on. It's the kind of stuff that wouldn't pass muster in any civilised society. And, when we were there, the remarkable thing was we found Aborigines already starting to organise. And so not only do we encourage them, we joined them and gave it a push along. And
one of the things you did was virtually desegregate the Moree pool. We'll cut to a shot now of a great photo of Charlie Perkins. Charlie was in the pool at Moree there. Isn't that a great shot, a great photo? Tell us what happened there, Hall.
Well, nothing could have happened without the late, great Charlie Perkins. Because it was a bunch of white kids and he was a bloke called Gary Williams, another Aboriginal student. They were the kind of people that made the connections for us and gave us, if you like, a certain legitimacy in Aboriginal communities. But, well, the first time we went there, we got some town Aboriginal kids from Thompson's Row, the respectable, house niggers, if you like, who, were allowed into the pool. We broke the colour bar. We went away, and then we heard the kids had come in from from out of town, who lived in the Humpies and so on, and they'd been refused. And so we decided, well, we want the colour bar, broken for, all Aboriginals, not just the ones from the respectable parts of Moree. So we turned around and came back, and that's when all hell broke loose. We went out to, the mission and, asked for volunteers. Bunches of kids raced to, to be in on it. We went back. Charlie led them to the pool. They closed the pool, but it was the most frightening day in a way because there were hundreds of locals there. Jim Spiegelman again. I don't want to go on mentioning him, but he got king hit. People got burnt with cigarette butts. There were coins and fruit thrown at people. And in the end, as I said, they closed the pool and there was a police escort for us out of town.
And some of those kids, now adults, describe that as the best day of their life.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. They did start to organise from then on in lots of communities. And we went back after the bus trip so that, we just didn't go there to stir things up and abandon them to it. But, yeah.
Sam?
I see that one of the young guys joining the current bus tour out there is the current president of Sydney University, SRC, who's the grandson of one of the original riders. At the time, did you think there was going to be this sort of intergenerational effect that would flow through?
No, it was very much on the run. We went there and and then we found ourselves involved in these desegregation battles. It just took off and had a momentum of its own. We didn't know that the 67 referendum was going to come along or that we were going to start boycotting, South African apartheid sporting teams and, and so on, and that we would be supporting land rights and so on. Everything took us by surprise in a way. It was, I suppose, in its way, a small revolution in the sense that opens your eyes and changes things in ways you hadn't expected.
Chris?
How did the national media respond to the freedom rides?
That was one of the most remarkable things. There was universal goodwill, universal kind of, fair reporting. Even the Frank Packer press, although they editorially chastised us as a bunch of long-haired commie troublemakers.
Which was partly true, wasn't it?
Partly true. The news coverage was extraordinary. I mean, it was very objective from our point of view, very, very, very positive, and, you know, it was international as well.
Well, the media is usually very supportive of social movements, as you know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Very, very supportive. And this was, you know, one of the exceptions. And, you know, we were pleased for it. We were conscious of this. I mean, it was a thing about the 60s. Media savvy consciousness was around, even on that bus trip, even in early 1965.
Do you hope that with this bus trip, rather than just reliving and commemorating that amazing journey that took place 50 years ago, that they can shine a light on some of those enduring problems, health, education, Aboriginal life expectancy?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that, but I also hope that they encourage the self-organisation and the, you know, the kind of angry desire for self-determination that drove that initial renaissance and reawakening of modern Aboriginal communities back in the mid-60s through to the mid-70s. I think we need more of that organisation, more of that campaigning, more of that pride, and more of that, you know, that kind of dynamism that was there then that, you know, we tapped into.
And Hall, just finally, Walgett, the scene where, you know, the RSL club where Aboriginal diggers were not allowed to drink, that was a scene of a bit of a confrontation. You were evicted. Tell us what happened.
Well, we tried to get into the Aboriginal, the Aboriginal blokes into the RSL club, no go. We tried to desegregate the pub, no go, the local dress shop and so on. We went back to that evening to the church hall where we were staying. The Reverend had, you know, had a backlash, asked us to leave. In the middle of the night, we were halfway between, well, we were just on the way out of, a couple of miles out of Walgett. We had this convoy of lights, you know, behind us and so on. And suddenly out of the convoy, a big truck, you know, a 5-ton truck, emerged, came up beside the bus, rammed the side of the bus 3 times, sent us careering into a ditch and took off. And, you know, and then all the cars with their headlights surrounded us, and there we were caught in the spotlight, and the call went out for the blokes up the front and so on. We were, you know, we didn't know what.
So you thought you were about to be attacked?
Yeah, we thought we were just about to be attacked. You know, we'd been threatened. Now we're going to be attacked, and out of the cars jumped the local Aboriginal lads and lasses who, in fact, had actually decided to escort us out of town as a kind of Indigenous highway patrol, if you like. And
Well,
so they were there to save us.
We've run out of time. Thanks so much for coming on and telling us the story.